Happy New Year, 2020. Woo, we made it. Oh, man. What a beautiful day it is. Today is January 1st, 2020. And I have decided that I wanted to reach out and break the silence because so much has happened last year, and a lot of it I just wasn't really prepared to share, talk about publicly. So this is it, and I hope you guys get something from this message and can relate in some way or understand who I am a little bit better. Maybe can feel a stronger connection with me in the future because of this, or at least at the very least, you'll know a little bit of where I'm coming from. And I may push some people away with this message. I may bring some people closer to me with this message. We'll see. So we're just going to let it fly. But it's time. It is time. 2019 was a whopper. I know some people had a few people, strange people, had a wonderful 2019. Mine was wonderful in some ways, in the ways that it was intense and caused extreme growth. But so much of it, that intensity was painful and difficult and challenging in ways that I can't even, well, I'm going to begin to describe them. But yeah, so for a lot of you guys, you know me as Colin, a lot of my old friends. That's the birth name I was given. And then a lot of you know me as Ko or Koharlan, and that's the name change that I underwent. And I know probably a lot of you were like, what is going on with this dude? What is this madness? Has he gone off his rocker? Has he lost his mind, his marbles? And yeah, well, I'm going to explain that in this video, and you can decide and determine for yourself. So I guess, yeah, we should probably just kick it off with that, So I have been experiencing in what's known in Sanskrit as kriyas. It's a yogic terminology, and I don't mean like hatha yoga, but I mean yoga as in the union of man, woman, and the divine. It's about the unity of our deepest inner self and that which we call God. So that's what the actual word yoga means. It means union. It's not connection, although some people think of it as like a connection with the divine. But in the path that I follow, it's a non-dual path. So what we seek to do is to find that within our own selves, which is that we are worshiping. And we practice and study and meditate and surrender in order to experience what's known as hermeneutical mysticism, which is the thing that you study, you end up becoming. Pretty fascinating, and I gotta say, it ain't no bullshit. So, but I've been on this path for about 17 years now. I was introduced to Siddha Yoga in prison about 17 years ago in 2002 or 2003. And it changed my life. I mean, the teachings have been percolating in me for a long, long time. It's caused a lot of changes in my personality. It's caused a lot of changes in the expression of who I am. It's basically, it made my life do a complete 180. I mean, my whole life before that was a mess, chaotic, madness, jails, institutions, violence, anger, emotional suppression, all these just horrible things that I experienced. For the majority of my life up until that point. And then the change happened, and I'm so forever grateful to that path. Jai Muktananda. So anyways, what happens to some of us who experience this, these kriyas, is they can manifest in all sorts of different ways, but a lot of times it's spontaneous movements of the body. So I've been experiencing that for about 16 or now about 14 years or so. Just like, just a jerk. What's going on? Oh, that's weird. What's wrong with him? Is he having a seizure? No, it's actually I feel energy rising up through my spine and jacking my chakras and like causing me to do all sorts of weird things. Sometimes it manifests as spontaneous yogic postures, asanas. Which is pretty intense when you just feel your body doing something. You're like, what is going on? This is just happening. I'm not doing it. It's happening, spontaneous mudras. And also noises coming out. Something like that. It's been going on for the last couple of years. It's been gradually progressing. So this year, all those gurgling noises, I can tell you the date. I remember it well. It was my daughter's birthday, March 27th, 2019. And I was sitting in front of one of my teacher's pictures, meditating. And those noises started coming out, but I felt myself letting go of any tension in the back of my tongue and also in my throat. And those gurgling noises started to become mantras. They started to become proclamations of divinity. Just all sorts of names of God coming out of me. I am Allah, Yahweh Allah, Kahar Noyam. So, and that's just what happens. It's just on tap now. It's just what comes out. Sometimes it's spontaneous, but it's always on tap. If I go om, like I have to hold the om in order to do that. But if I just let it go and make the sound, what comes out is something like Oy Allah, Yahweh Allah, Kahar Allah, Nayam Allah, Yallah, Yallah, Yallah. Now, that was pretty strange. It was pretty mind-blowing to me. I didn't know what the heck was going on at first. I mean, I knew it was a Kriya. I could feel it. But I'm like, I don't know what is the purpose of this. Why is this happening? I have no idea how to make sense of this. But for several weeks, it was just coming out. And all this emotion, all this intensity is coming out. It's just burning through my body. And, I didn't really have anybody I could share with this. The few people I did share this with, they were pretty turned off by it, or they judged it to be something that I knew that it wasn't. They were saying prayers for me, trying to bind demons. Oh, I bind you in the name of Jesus, and all this bullshit. And I just knew that was not what was really happening. There's not some demon coming out or trying to take control of me, because I know that what I am when I experience these things doesn't change. It's just energy moving, and it just moves the body, it moves the tongue. It moves the throat. It makes sounds. So anyways, for the name, so what happened was that, these names of God be coming out, and mantras, various mantras, Om Namah Shivaya, all sorts of things like this. And then for a while, it was just coming out like, I'm Muela Kohala, 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 I'm Muela Kohala. And I was like, what in the hell is this? And I started Googling it. I'm trying to figure it out. What language is this? Is it Sanskrit? Is it Arabic? Because one of the first things I recognized was coming out was like, Yahweh Allah, Yahweh Allah, Yahweh Allah, Yahweh Allah. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know those words, Yahweh and Allah. And that seems to be at odds, because we got the Hebrew faith, in which they're not even allowed to say that word for the last, 1,000 years or something. And then we got Allah, which is the Muslim name for God. But if you actually look in history, that's the name for God that was used in that region for hundreds and hundreds of years before Islam even came about. So it's just the name of God. But people would be pretty freaked out to hear those two words being said together. A lot of people would. So nonetheless, I digress. Moela Kohala. Who is this freaking guy? Moela Kohala. And I'm trying to figure it out. And then after a couple weeks, I realized that I can actually that it was just coming out so fast that it was like gibberish. But when I could drag the brakes a little bit on the vocalizations, what would happen is Muela Kohala became I am Yahweh Allah Koharalan. I am Yahweh Allah Koharalan. And then it hit me. I was like, wait a minute, Koharalan. That's my name. That's my soul's name. That's my mantra. And I recognized, I was like, well, Koharalan, it's very similar to Colin. Actually, it's just like Colin, but with God in the middle, because Hara means God in Sanskrit. And I'm still working on figuring out the other pieces of the word, but as best as I can tell, it means unto God something. I'm not sure, and I'll figure it out. When I do, I'll let you know. Anyway, so that's where the name came from. I've always believed that, with all my daughters, I felt like their names came to me like I knew that was the right name for each of my daughters. It was just like something hit me. So I feel like probably my mother was in tune with this also. And so by naming me Colin, it was the closest iteration of Koharalan that made sense to her in a Western type of name. So, nonetheless, as far as it goes, you can call me Ko, you can call me Colin, you can call me Koharlan, you can call me Yahweh ala Koharlan if you really want to be fancy, but that's a lot. So, it doesn't really matter to me, but Koharlan's cool. So, yeah, anyways, that is the reasoning for the name. So, I hope that answers some questions for someone. Yes. All right. So, anyways, man, what else about this year? So that started opening up. That started opening up a lot. It really, it made me start to look inside, like what's going on, what's happening, and I started to recognize that this is just the energy, the Shakti is purifying me. It's just purifying the chakras. It's purifying my energy system. It is removing the ignorance, the belief, the false belief in a separate self, which is the main barrier to self-realization, as they talk about, to God realization. The main barrier that we have is our own minds. It's our own belief that we are separate. And it's our identification with that separate being that we believe ourselves to be. But in actuality, there's just one being manifesting as everything, as all apparent individuals. And that being is our true essence. It's our deepest inner self. It's the self, the divine that lives within our own heart. And it's the self of all, which is why they say when you know your own true self, you know the self of all. Because in reality, we actually are that one. So it takes practice a lot of times to see this, and you have to have the right karma, I suppose, in order to even be on this path, even to want to seek out this type of truth. But it's always been talked about in my path as the ultimate goal and the ultimate realization, to recognize one's own self as the divine. So yes, I am divinity incarnate. This is the Lord speaking through me. As best as I am allowing it to happen, it is happening. And I trust that someone is receiving it and that it is causing a shift in your own identity, so that we can all recognize and wake up to the true self that we are and stop believing ourselves to be a limited, separate sufferer who is going to die, who is born and is going to die. I mean, that's what bodies do. But the true self is eternal. It's beingness. It is consciousness. As they say in Sanskrit, it is Sat Chitananda, which is being, consciousness, and bliss. And when we recognize our own self and begin to shift our identity to that deeper inner self, we do experience all those things directly. And that is the beauty of this path, is that it's not about a philosophy, and it's not about, the philosophy helps, but it's not about believing in something. You must experience it and know it for yourself within. And that, otherwise it's fucking words. It's not going to do you any good. It's just another belief system, just like people who believe if I die, I'm going to go to heaven. Well, no, Jesus said, you must seek the kingdom of heaven now. It's here among you. It's within you. It's right here. You have to find that first. And then all these other things will be added to you as the story goes. So, anyhow, yeah, I've received some pushback a little bit, and for pronouncing that, and that's okay. I'm fine with that, because the ones who are cool with it and are at least non-judgmental enough to say this is what he's experiencing. This is his experience, and it's pretty profound. I may not understand it, but I'm not going to judge it or use my own insecurity and my own religious programming to judge him or what he's experiencing. Anyways, nonetheless, people can judge me if they want. I don't really care. It's not that big of a deal. It's just that it's going to create a disconnect between you and I, and it's going to make it harder for us to connect and commune and experience that oneness and that divinity that we are. But that's up to the individual, the apparent individual, because we do get to play out these roles. That's what it's about. This life is about experience, and we are experiencing ourself as an individual. But as I said before, the ultimate goal is to wake up and to recognize that we aren't that individual, that we actually are the divine incarnate. And it's about recognition. It's not about belief. It's not about thinking it. Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. No, that's what meditation and contemplation is for, and that's what Oh, that is what grace and surrender is for. Because it's not the ego that wakes up and says, "Oh, I'm God now." Ho, ho, ho. No. As one of my favorite teachers, Hal Dwoskin, always says, freedom is not for you, it's from you. You get that? Freedom is from you. That means freedom is not for the ego. It means when you let the ego go, it goes away and the true self comes to the surface and comes to light. So anyways, that's what all that's about. Now, I just wanted to talk about a couple other things that have come up because it's been an intense year. It was an intense year. This year so far is going magnanimously. 2020, oh, I'm loving you so far. I hope this continues. I trust that it will. I have surrendered in any case. So, but yeah, it's been a crazy year. It's been a lot of difficulty. I went through 3 breakups this year. I lost. Well, I didn't lose, but my long term partner and I parted ways, and that was one of the most difficult challenges that I went through. Took a couple months to heal from that, and it's been almost 3 months now, I think. And it ended up being a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It brought up so much grief, and ultimately, I know that it was the right decision for us both, and we're both better off, and we both loved each other very much. She was the best girlfriend I ever had, and I wish her all the best in her life. And yeah, so there's that. And wow, yeah, completely unexpected. Took me by surprise how difficult it was going to be. And I really had to take some time and space and just be alone and process all of that grief and let it go and surrender to it and accept the feelings that came up, accept all the feelings of fear and insecurity that it brought up. Did I make the right decision? I mean, look at everything that I gave up, everything that I was giving up. But I realized that it was the only way for us to both be free to experience the beauty and the love of the new life which is awaiting us, or which was awaiting us, that we're now stepping into. So I honor her and I honor all of my past relationships so much for everything that they've given me and everything that they've shown me and everything that we've been able to share together that has influenced and directly impacted my life so deeply. I love you all. Even those pain in the ass ones. Just glad I don't have to deal with you anymore. But nonetheless, I digress. Just a little levity for this. So, anyways, I wanted to talk about a couple things that I have had in the works. So, I've been working on a book that has actually been coming out of this process that spontaneously, I don't know if it's spontaneously, I kind of just sort of reverse engineered this inner fulfillment that I've been experiencing, and I started to encounter this natural bubbling up from within of fulfillment, and I was like, "Whoa, this is something different. This is something new." And I started to recognize that my fulfillment, my true inner fulfillment, doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't depend on the external world, and it doesn't depend on people. Now, all that stuff is nice. I'm not saying that we should ignore it, right? But I'm just saying that as long as our inner fulfillment is dependent on another person or another thing or a circumstance, then we are not free. Because so long as we need situations and people and things to be a certain way in order for us to feel fulfilled inside, we are at the mercy of those things, and we are not free at all. So I started to discover that for myself experientially, and then I started to look at, well, how is this happening? Where is this coming from? Where is this inner fulfillment? Where's the source of it? And how do I tap into it so that I can experience this directly on a regular basis? So, anyways, I wrote it down. I reverse engineered it and wrote it down, and it was a 6 step process that came out of it. And then as I started to explain it to people and things, I realized, you know what? I really just need to write this down as a book. And that way, when people say, hey, what's this? Well, you explain it to me. I'm like, well, here, you just read the book, because I can tell you about it in like 5 minutes. I can literally explain the process in 5 minutes. But what I found is that it doesn't really help most people like that. They're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But then they don't actually do anything with it. And they can't, because they've already forgotten it. And, they might have a piece or two that sticks with them, but I felt like I would be doing them a strong disservice if I just said, oh, here's what you do and here's what it is, without really giving them the roadmap to discover it within themselves. So it's a process that I call effortless fulfillment. And it's just that. It's about this discovering and tapping into this natural wellspring of inner fulfillment that's natural, that is always available in some measure. All we have to do is learn how to access it and learn how to shift our thinking from believing that our happiness and our fulfillment and freedom lies out there, in some external set of circumstances or situations or people. And this is something that I'm still processing too. It's not like, just because I discovered this that I'm 100% joyful and fulfilled all the time. I still experience things that are difficult sometimes, and I have to use this process to continue to work through it. But it has been extremely what is the word? Impactful. And it has been a great beneficence and boon in my life, because it's opened up things and helped me to release the feelings of insecurity and fears and worries of all kind, and uncertainty, and just stress, and not good enough and not enough, and worry and all this kind of stuff. It's a very effective process for myself, and hopefully for a lot of others, because I definitely have gotten some good feedback from it already. So it's been helping some people, and I look forward to sharing that more. So I will keep you updated on the progress as the book comes to light. So that's what I want to say about that. So that's the main thing I've been working on as far as my creative endeavors. That's one of the biggest things I've been doing. And then also still continuing with music, and that has been actually super fantastic. Music in the last year has been wonderful. Actually, I've really felt like I have moved into this beginning stage of mastery. And so now when I practice, it's joyful to me. Oh, practicing is so wonderful. I see myself progressing, and therefore I'm inspired continuously. And so I don't have to discipline myself at all. I just love it. And that's been a great gift. So I'm so appreciative for that. Because for a long time, music was literally, it was a source of pain for me, because I wasn't making the progress that I felt I should be. And I was putting a lot of effort into it, a lot of time and effort, and I wasn't growing. I wasn't making those progresses that I thought I felt like I should be making. I'm doing the work. Like, what the hell? Give me a break here. I'm putting hours in every day, and I'm not making progress. So it was a source of pain. I actually had to stop playing like a couple years ago. I stopped playing my guitar for like 8 months. I didn't even pick it up, maybe almost a year. And because just to look at the thing, it would make me want to cry. Look at this guitar. This is freaking beautiful, man. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous instrument. It's the nicest guitar I've ever owned. And it plays beautifully, and I love it. And I couldn't even play this thing. I couldn't even look at it. That's how much pain it was causing me. So thank God that's in the past. Whew. All right, so we're moving forward. And another big way we're moving forward is sobriety. Now, I basically I quit my alcoholism a few years ago due to some intense experiences that woke me up to the definite realization that I was killing myself. And I needed to stop. Also, I was just wasting my life, and destroying my health. And yeah, just not making any kind of real progress spiritually because that alcohol was weighing me down. There was also some other drugs that were involved too, and I put those all, I let those all go. And I got to the point after a year and a half of total sobriety from alcohol that I could drink a couple beers here and there if I wanted to, but and then recently I just have decided that I have no need for it and I have no use for it. It actually only brings me down. So, or I should say, the the benefits are far outweighed by the detriments. So, it had to go. It just didn't make any sense for me to continue with that. But the latest that has transpired is I've also stopped all forms of cannabis, so I'm completely sober of all things, and that was a long time coming. I guess it was difficult to get to the point to be ready to actually do it because I have great love for that plant, and I have enjoyed it for most of my life. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, by the way. For a lot of people, it's great. For me, it did me a lot of good for a lot of years. But it just was getting to the point to where it was holding me back from reaching the aspirations that I had and really blossoming into the true nature of that which I am and being that expression. It was just only serving to inhibit me, and so I had to let it go. Now, I still have plenty of friends who use it, and I know there's a lot of people who are using it for medical reasons as well as personal reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that. Do you, boo? I'm not judging at all. I don't mind it at all, but I'm just not doing it, and those are the reasons why. So, where are we headed? It's 2020. 2020. Well, where are we headed is wherever we are headed. I have no idea. I have some ideas. I have some clues, but I've actually really surrendered. So this is the year that I haven't made any New Year's resolutions, and I haven't actually set any goals for the year either. I don't recommend this for anyone else. This is something that I'm doing because I feel like I'm ready to. I know that I'm ready to surrender entirely to that which the divine has in store for me. So I am just opening myself up and surrendering to the grace and the direction that the Lord has instilled within me and is showing me regularly. Now, a lot of people might be saying, well, now you're talking about the Lord doing this for me, and that sounds very dualistic, but before you said that, you are God and you're recognizing that divinity. These are all true. Glad that you recognize that. You know what? Actually, my guru this morning in the New Year message made a little joke about that. She said, the Western mind has such a difficulty with paradox. I said, wait a minute. You said this, but you also said this. Which one is it? Well, I don't have a problem with those paradoxes. Whenever we're using words, we're going to be using dualistic languaging because that's just the nature of words. It's the nature of language. And anytime we're using a pronoun referring to a me or a you or whatever, we're obviously putting separation out there. The deeper reality is the unity. The deeper reality is the oneness. So I hope that at least makes some kind of sense. If you really want to learn more, there's a lot to learn about it, but it takes some desire, and it takes a natural inclination and probably karma to want to look into it. But if you'd like to look, by all means, I would recommend checking out a book by Christopher Wallace called The Recognition Sutras. It's actually derived from a sacred Sanskrit text written by a master by the name of Kshemaraj, and it is based on his sutras, the 20 sutras called the Pratabhignya Hridayam, which means the teachings on the school of the heart of recognition, or the recognition of one's own self as divinity. So there you go. If you want to check that out, I highly recommend it if you're so inclined. Probably most people won't be inclined, but for those who are, it's a fantastic resource. So anyways, I don't know what else I have to say. It's been a wild ride. That's right. There are a couple things more I wanted to talk about. So one of the things that's come up recently as a result of those intense kriyas is I seem to have become a sort of a human divining rod. If you know what a divining rod is, it's like, they would throw this rod and they would find like, oil with it, or like, sacred stones, or, something like that. They would take the rod, and the rod would show them where to dig, Divination is just any kind of tool, any kind of oracle, if you will. Tarot is one, I Ching is one. There are many, people use dowsing with a pendulum and such. So some people use muscle testing. It's called kinesiology. Now, I know to some of you this might sound hokey, but it really, if you've watched this long, you're probably fine with it. So in any case, it seems like I've been able to divine things simply by making a statement and then allowing the vocalization to come out. And depending on the pitch register of the vocalization, I can sense whether it's a true statement or a false statement. So I'll see if I can think of an example. Let's see. What could we do? I'm drawing a blank. So let's see. Well, you know what? I'll just do something silly and stupid. We'll figure it out. So I own a home in Maine. That's the statement. Now we'll just let the vocalization come out and see what it sounds like. I own a home in Maine. Voila! Okay, so that's a higher pitched one. It came through very clear, and that signifies to me that there's truth in that statement. So I own a home in Vermont. Voila! Totally different. I didn't do anything different. I just let the sound come out. One is obviously true. One is obviously false. I mean, I know it's true or false. But I'm just using that as an example. But I've been utilizing that as a way to contact the deeper inner intuition and inner knowing within myself. And I'd also be interested in sharing that with others. So if you have a question, something, you don't know which pathway to go, and you feel led to reach out to me to get some insight into that, I would be happy to work with you in that respect. So you can contact me through social media or shoot me a message on here, put something, I don't know, you can put comments on, I think, underneath like that. There's some kind of way you can reach out and find me. It's koharlan at gmail.com. You can email me. So, yes, so that's just something that's recently developed in the last week or so. And I haven't shared that really with anyone. I mean, I've talked about it, like this kind of intuition has been opened up inside me, but I really haven't shared it with anyone. So I'm fascinated to see what other people's experiences are with that. And that, I think, about does it. So I'm so happy if you've watched. It was great connecting with you, and my heart goes out to you. I love you very, very much. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to connecting with you further and deeper in the future. I really do. I mean that. If some of this resonates with you, please reach out to me. Let me know. If you've gone through anything of a similar nature, anything that has a correlate, please let me know. I'd love to discuss it. I'd love to hear about it, and and talk more and share and relate. So I guess with that, we can tune out, and I just would like to end this by vocalizing with focus on the divine form of the Lord known as Shiva. And I say that with a little tongue in cheek because, as you may or may not know, Shiva is considered to be the formless one. It is that formless essence which dwells within all of us. So in our tradition, some other traditions, people look at like a lot of different things. So it really depends. Like there's many, many types of religions and histories and understandings and paths. And some of them, these names of gods mean different things. But in this path, Shiva is known to be the formless, essential nature of consciousness that we all share, that is our true essence, and which is always here, now, present, eternal, and is the source of all. And so with that in mind, we'll focus on Shiva and offer Wayala, yala, yala, yamalo, yala, hambo, yalo, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Until next time, Happy New Year.